Hi, I'm Maira Genovese. I'm the founder and CEO of MG Empower, a global integrated market agency. Today, guest is someone I have had the pleasure of sharing the stage at Web Summit Rio de Janeiro with, and now I get to share the microphone with her. Bianca Franklin is the lead for global business development, music and brand experience at H&M Global. She has also been named a 2025 Hollywood Reporter top power marketeer and a visionary at the intersection of music, brand, and culture. From global strategy to groundbreaking experience, she's helped redefine how brands connect with people emotionally and culturally, far beyond a single moment. Today, we're diving into the power of music in brand storytelling and what it takes to lead with purpose, creativity on a global stage. Bianca, welcome to Beyond the Marketing, the podcast. What an introduction!
Introduction beyond belief. Thank you.
But you are all of that, so this is all you.
Wow, I don't really reflect on it in that sense. So it's amazing to actually hear it, and you're like, wow, is that me?
It's you.
Do I do that?
You do, and then I'm so glad that you're here today when we talk more about your journey and the amazing career you have built it. But before we dive in, like, who is Bianca Franklin, the person, the human?
That is a beautiful question because I think we evolve all the time. So I think who I was a year ago, I'm not the same person today. So today, I would say I am a mom, first and foremost, to my 11-year-old daughter, Lilo. And besides being a mother, I'm a woman in her 40s trying to understand and navigate life in the way that you feel like you have so much more to give, but then you've given so much already. And how do you find the strength within you to continue to be positive and happy and balanced and bring all that energy into something good? So I would say that besides that, in my career, I'm a professional that is, very intuitive, and I lead with my heart, and I have a lot of empathy and understanding for, the differences that are in the cultural space within companies, but also in the landscape in the world.
I love that. And I think the first thing when we met in person, that's something that I could feel straight away is your energy, your intuition, and the kind way you look to the world and the things around you.
Thank you.
Bianca is the one that I can see from you and from the time we spend together in Brazil that you're a visionary, that you're very creative. Thanks. And you like to put your forward to things outside the box.
Yes.
And one of your, recently big achievement is to relate music with brand building. Where does this came from, that passion for music and the vision to add music into a marketing strategy?
Music is the purest form of any emotion, if you think about it. When you hear a song, right before we started, I had a question, which was a great question. And it was so obvious that question, I had a song. The question was, if you were a brand, what would that soundtrack be? And I'm like, my brand, like, oh my God, I work with music. I should, and fashion, I should be able to, like, at a drop, straight away be able to say something. And I had a song in my mind, but I couldn't remember the name of it. It came after. But it was like I heard my grandma's voice all of a sudden in like a split second. And I remembered her favorite song. And I'm like, oh, I get emotional again thinking about it. And it was, if I was a brand, what would the soundtrack be? It was La Vida es un Carnaval by Celia Cruz.
Beautiful.
And I was like, wow, where did that come from? But when you think about the meaning of that song, it's an emotional journey of, like, even in the darkest moments of life, you should try to see your life like in a carnival. Like, it's full of light, there's full of joy, there's ups and downs. But at the end of the day, if you smile at it, you connect. And that's the same thing when you think about music in general branding, right? How do you connect with an audience so that you feel what they're trying to tell you in the storytelling that they're doing? And when you're able to connect with an audience at their level with, artists that speak, I would say, their language,
Yes.
any language, it's so powerful. And when I started this journey, I just knew that I loved music so much. And I knew that there were so many brands out there that were doing it, but, they weren't maybe doing it the way that I thought that one could. So I just started to think about, there is something here where you're able to tap into culture, you're able to tap into audiences, and maybe shift the perception of your brand in a more positive way. Because I think all brands face that challenge that, even if you're out there doing all these marketing, all these branding strategies, at the end of the day, it's how your audience, how your customers perceive you, And that's where the authenticity, where you connect with music in a way that I felt, I think there's something there because it's so pure.
And then how did you brought this to the table? You pitch yourself?
Oh, wow. That was a huge journey. Yes.
Because you have to prove that you have a case, right? 'Cause
Yes.
if no one is doing, how you go out there and pitch something that is completely unusual
Yeah.
for brands to type into in that scale that you have created.
Well, what I saw was potential. And I think that is a gift that we all have within us, is to see potential in something, right? And if you see potential in the smallest things, you can build from it. Mind you, when I started on this path and understanding, a passion for it and getting this little fire ignited within me, the pandemic had just hit.
Yes.
And I had just started.
Wow.
So to be out there with this idea of working within music and culture at a time where it was completely not allowed, impossible to do. And a lot of people, including myself, of course, you wonder, you're stressed out, you just started a new job, and it was a small little project that was actually being tested here in the UK. And I just saw this huge potential in it. And I asked my manager, is it okay, even if I work on these other projects, could I, build this and, show the value of what I see in it and pitch it, to you and the rest of the management team? And she was like, okay, but we all know there's a pandemic, how are we going to do this? And I was just like, well, we work with a great team, an agency we work with, a music agency. And, with them, we just started to think, how could our brand in a way come to life after the pandemic? What could we do to be this platform for our audience or our customers to want to be a part of? What could we give back to the music industry that maybe other brands haven't thought of? What kind of problem solving can we do internally to bring a whole 360 way of thinking that maybe other brands haven't? Could we beat our competitors? Where should we start? It was just like opening a Pandora's box of wonder. Usually Pandora's box is something negative. For me, it was just like, wow, I have a full year, even though we're in lockdown, but it wasn't that much lockdown in Sweden, to just think and to just strategize. And that just created this huge passion within me of how brands can actually talk to their audience in a new way.
And then pandemic ended and you went for it.
I went for it like my life depended on it, to be honest. I remember I was so giddy. I was so excited. I felt like I was at the gospel. I love spreading the gospel of music and branding and storytelling that, I think my energy and my passion about this subject got all of my colleagues and managers so excited with me, even though they didn't really understand, what are we doing?
Just your excitement was just making them exciting, which is beautiful. You know what? But I think people just don't know, because you had all this, incredible vision, and then you strategized exactly what you said, but then you went for upcoming artists.
Yes.
And I think that is what actually put you in a very different place, because a lot of brands, when they think about music and then bridge that, culture relevance music with, brand campaigns and, launching in a new market, they always go for the obvious, right? So the artists, they're already well known. And I think one of your first project, you put it forward, an artist that at the time was not as well known.
Yeah.
And which is Charlie XX.
Yes. So Charlie XCX is the culmination of many years of getting, people on board to understand the power within unleashing, the self-expression of an up and coming, she is an established artist and she's not up and coming in that way. But I think she was in the crowd of like where you're on the verge of exploding huge internationally, you're still big, but you're like right on the cusp. Because if you think about the year Charlie's had, with Brat coming out, it was incredible. And that's something you never know. It's something, again, where your gut, your intuition just tells you, jump on this bandwagon that's about to take off. This train is leaving the station. We had the privilege, I am so grateful. We had the privilege of being able to listen to a couple tracks right before the release. And, it was a very different type of genre, or like the way she was mixing her sounds was very different than what she was doing before. So I think a lot of times when you would hear, you're like, okay, do I, we were trying to, I guess the word is pitch because you're pitching internally.
Pitching,
yeah, you're pitching.
Yeah.
It was, trying to get teams on board to see the potential in, this new sound, and what she's doing is different. But, if we truly believe it, there's a beautiful storytelling. She is what I would say a real H&M customer from like through and through. And she's proud to say that, she shops at our stores. And I think to be able to raise and give her a platform
100%.
globally and be like, this is a true H&Mer. And she's proud of us and we're proud of her. And we've been, working with her throughout the years. We played her first track when it came out in all our stores. I'm so proud to be able to say that. And building a storytelling around an artist's journey with your brand just becomes
that's one to be part of your journey
Yeah.
too. So it's kind of like a combination of both sides.
Of course. And that's where the beauty of it comes, right? Because if you work with established artists, meaning they've already hit their peak, they're there. That magic moment that you share together, that giddiness of doing something big, huge, is not the same.
It's not the same.
Because you are just one brand in their brand portfolio that they work with. Not that they're not happy to work with you, but it's not
different.
It's different, right? And I remember back in the day, but when I first started out, I did a lot of pilot projects in the regions, and I loved working with our regions because that's where the local layer comes in. That's where you can actually
get
an understanding of what local artist is about to hit, and you can be part of that journey from a local level.
This is amazing.
And that's how I was able to build, momentum internally by showing that our pilot projects where we were working with emerging artists was actually showing potential with our client or our customers, not clients, customers that were coming back to us and being very, curious, but also wanting to know more and like, wow, what other artists are going to work with locally and globally. So when we did go for Charlie, everybody was on board. Everybody was super excited because it was so different.
So different at the time. And then we just came back from pandemic where consumers and us as a human, we're craving for connection and for music and for emotion. And I think you guys came on the right time as well, where the world was in needed of seeing something different, but also to be connected in a different way.
Exactly, because we did 2 digital concerts during the pandemic, and that was interesting. Where you were only allowed to be 8 people in the room with face masks and trying to like direct. No, it was interesting. So being able to take this beautiful baby, as we call it, and see it grow was amazing. It was
because
amazing.
now it's part of the strategy, right? So this is being started as a pilot, and now it became what is the brand is about.
It's the brand direction.
It's the brand direction, and this is all coming from your persistence and passion and vision of bringing something to the table that was completely different. So how do you feel about it?
Wow, again, reflecting on these things that I usually don't reflect on. I feel so humbled and I feel so proud, and I feel, I believed so much in this. I had such strong belief that, if I spoke to the right people and I was able to show and prove, KPIs, because at the end of the day, it's a corporate company.
All about KPIs,
it's about KPIs and results. And just showing that if we do take a chance and we're able to take it the full way, we're going to see the results, even if it's scary. Because I know a lot of us felt like, are we doing the right thing? We're putting all our eggs in a basket. It's like, yes. It is, because
and it is just about test and learn. Because if you don't go there and then do what your intuition and guts is saying for you to go for, you're never gonna know if it's the right or wrong brand strategy, correct?
Exactly.
And then like it's interesting for people that's listening to us that sometimes, the perception of when you see projects of this size out there and taking form and being huge success, people that don't have the understanding what goes behind the scenes, behind curtains of us marketeers and leaders to get a project and idea of this size into actually to out there. So talk a little bit more about your leadership style to not the leadership that you take to your team, but also how you build that resilience and persistence and fighting for what you have believe in a big corporation.
I think it's the fact, like I was mentioning before, that when your leadership is the mirror of the people you're around you, I am only as good as a team I'm part of. You know what I mean? It takes a team. It takes a team to be able to build something that cool, that massive, that intense together. And we're a huge team. I'm one out of so many. And together we build. And that's where, it's not about a title. It's about the inner compass, the inner leadership, of how you understand people and how you lead with compassion and empathy. And I think there's different types of leadership, ways. And I like I was mentioning before, I think being upfront and honest is so pivotal. And that's where you're able to see the results, because people are they have the space and the freedom to be themselves.
Yeah.
And that's where creativity thrives, right? There is a feeling that it's okay to test and learn. And from that, develop further. And that's the leadership that I have, is that, if we're working together in a team and I'm, managing it, we are going to do this together. I'm going to be there with you on the ground, building. I remember when I was working with the Philippines and I flew there to do our first metaverse concert ever. We were
so funny that you talk about metaverse. I haven't heard about metaverse for a while. And that time when they were saying that metaverse will be the future.
I know, Ep3. It was a thing. And in that market specifically, I remember it was new. And I flew there and I bonded to make it. I mean, that was Swedish. I'm like, I bonded so much with the team because, they're like, oh, someone from Global is coming. And it was like, no, I was like one of them. I was there, fixing, and they were painting, and we were, I was doing everything. I'd go to the store with them, pick out clothes. So it's like, I think when you take away those layers of hierarchy that are there for a purpose, but when you on production get rid of that and you're all equal, that's how you build teams, because you're there pulling together, right?
I'm full on that. It's like I think titles, they are there because they need to be there, but I think as a leader you really needed to make sure that you're treating everyone as equal, because at the end of the day we are humans. So I have much like kind of that vision as well. It's just like doesn't matter like your title, so you need to feel comfortable around you, because at the end of the day to win is about a teamwork, right? And then making sure that I love what you said about empathy, compassion, and diversity. So beautiful.
You have to have a diverse team. And diverse doesn't mean different cultures, and it can, but for me, it's different mindsets. It's different way of seeing problem solving. You know what I mean? It's how you together have a consensus of how we move forward and how we take these decisions, and that we're all accountable. I think accountability is something people forget. And that, it's you can be part of a team, but I think it's important to be accountable in that team, that everybody, their effort actually matters. And it doesn't matter what you're doing in that team, but it's important, and that's why you're there. And we're all contributing to the same goal. And I really do think that leaders today lead more with their heart, because you can see it. And that's where people thrive. And like people like me,
yes, you're
who are different and maybe think differently and challenge a lot. There's space for us to grow. I had great management. I've had fantastic leaders that, saw my potential and weren't, stressed over it. More like, okay, maybe we don't understand really, but we understand you. And this passion needs to grow and go somewhere.
It's about empowering each other,
Yes.
right? I think this is a beautiful thing. And then talking about diversity, because you lived a long time in US, right? It was LA, reminds me,
San Francisco.
San Francisco. So you lived in San Francisco for how many years?
I am born and raised in San Francisco, California,
Okay.
like in San
In San
Francisco.
Francisco, California.
In San
Okay.
Francisco, in St. Francis Woods is where I was born and raised. Both my parents are Americans. My dad's born there, my grandma's born there, and my mom moved there as a child. So I have an eclectic background. People always ask me, it's like, you look this or you're that. I'm like,
Yeah.
I have a lot of different things.
Which
And I'm
is
so
amazing,
proud of it
yes.
because I think that diversity that I grew up in with, different languages, different cultures, different music in one household has shaped the view that I have of the world. And then moving to Sweden from San Francisco at the age of
Big
12.
change.
Huge
Change. Different culture,
Oh,
like
yeah.
extremely.
It was very different. I mean, I grew up in a home where, open doors, meaning, my grandparents lived with us. I had nannies. Family members would always come. There was always music, novelas. It's like
Love it.
it was such a warm, rich background where, like I said, every day felt like a carnival in a way because you never knew who was going to come visit. One of my grandma's friends would come over, or cousins, or aunt. It was always a house full of life. And my mom, she's such a role model because she gave us this opportunity to not only live in the US, but to live in Europe and to be able to experience, a lot of things that perhaps you wouldn't be able to experience had you been, left in the
Left
US.
in US, 100%.
Yeah.
And then Sweden, then you moved there with 12, and then you never went back to US, or you
did.
because I remember you said
I
that.
did. No, I've lived in many different places. No, but I moved there when I was 12, and I would go back to the States every summer to visit my dad and my siblings and my grandma. I mean, my whole family was there. Was there. And to get that richness that, I missed. Because Sweden is completely different. All our family was in the States, so it was adjustment. So we went back, and then when I was 21, I remember, I love that, turning 21 in the US is the best. If you haven't tried it,
yes.
people, please do. It's an experience to be had. I remember just thinking, I think I want to come and work here. I've never worked in the US. And so I first went to Argentina, and I was done with my master's.
You speak Spanish?
Sí.
Sí.
Por supuesto que sí.
Portuguese. Portuguese is very similar. Tudo bem?
Sí, muy bien. But yeah, I went to go live in Buenos Aires, and that was the most amazing, epic time of my life. I loved it so much. The culture, the food.
You never had another red meat as good as in Argentina.
no.
So after being in Argentina, every red meat is lovely after the experience.
Exactly. I mean, it just melts in your mouth.
Yeah,
It's the best. It was amazing to be able to have the opportunity to study and just live a beautiful, vibrant life as a 20-something-year-old in the culture that is alive in such a different way that the US is and Europe is. And the friendliness. And then from that, I got headhunted. I graduated, got my master's 2007. And then I was working during the summers. This gives you a little picture of my personality. I was working in the summers at our yacht club in Stockholm. A family friend gave me that as an extra job during the summers. And I remember I just graduated and I was so proud. I, did my 7 years of school and I was like, okay, so what am I going to do now? So I took that summer and I remember at the restaurant, part of the yacht club, I was waitressing and I had a table of management, American management. And a lot of the time the waitresses and waiters are like, Bianca, you take the Americans. And I'm like, yeah, great. They give great tips, but they're also really friendly. So they were sitting there and I was talking to them and all of a sudden they're telling me, yeah, we're from Electrolux in the US. And I was like, oh, cool, I'm American. And I'm like, oh, I just got my master's. They're like, oh, you did? I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, can you send us your master thesis? And I was like,
wow.
I was literally serving beer and wine and pitching myself
the best
to
stories.
C-suites in the US. And mind you, 2 weeks later, they created a position for me that didn't exist.
Then you flew out.
And I flew over business for the first time at the age of 24 to go sign a contract with Electrolux Americas.
In San Francisco?
No, I thought I was going to go to like Chicago. I was going to Iowa.
I'm loving this.
I'm like, hey, who cares? Looks great on my resume.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, let's test Iowa. Iowa's cool. Not my vibe, perhaps, but it was a learning.
Your first job.
It was my first job that
amazing.
Exactly. So I pitched myself during that summer. So right after I graduated, a month later, I had a top position at Electrolux North America. And I was traveling the world as an international marketing specialist. So
that I didn't know.
No.
So, but then it says a lot about who you are and why you are just this creative mind, because you have had those global opportunities. So you really understand diversity, cultural relevance, and be able to adapt, right? Because I think people that don't understand that you to move around countries, there is a huge amount of adaptability that you needed to create within yourself, and of course the resilience.
Yeah.
Because at each place you go, especially with a different country, it's a different language, a different culture, different ways of doing things. But I think there's no best experience than that.
You're right. You're so right, because it shapes, like I said, it shapes who you
shapes
are, and it shows you what you're made of. And let me tell you, those ice storms in Iowa, I have never experienced anything like it. And I live in Stockholm. I live in Sweden.
You never experienced anything like that?
No, I had never experienced like water in the pipes freezing, or like I had to hitchhike for the first time in my life because the car did not work. So a lot of experience, many firsts in Iowa, but it was great because I learned so much about myself. I learned a lot about, being just because you're from the States doesn't mean that, all states are alike, that we know.
Yeah.
But Iowa, it was cool. It was an experience to be had. And I'm really grateful for that opportunity that C-suite gave this waitress at the yacht club.
Did you put on your resume this? Because it's amazing. When it is a God purpose, he will find a way, even if it's just you serving a beer to Americans in a restaurant.
There you go.
You're right.
There you go. And that has been, I think, the way I have been able to navigate my career is that I pitch. And what pitching actually means is that you are putting together a story. It's storytelling, so that the people that are listening to what you're saying get emotionally invested in what you're saying.
100%.
Right? And they believe in what you're saying, and they believe in you so much that they want to put, themselves behind you in that belief.
And you have the people that believe in yourself, and then they will, get your back. But you also, throughout our lives, we have people that don't believe us.
Yes.
And they don't want to give us a chance. How do you deal with frustration, and how you deal with no's?
No is never no.
No is never no.
No is never
no. No is never no. I
no.
don't accept no's. I'm just how to
There
do
you
no.
go.
I am a person that there's a no for me, it's never an answer. And then my team sometimes they go like, Mara, it's not possible. There's no time. Always is a way.
And I think that's how you look at rivers.
Yes.
Rivers, maybe there is a rock there. All of a sudden, the sand moves and they find a way through the rock, and all of a sudden the river is flowing, but just in a new direction. So I think about no's as no, not right now, but probably maybe later. So I come at you depending on what it is.
Yeah.
And how I change strategies to try to see how can I make you understand the value of what I am explaining to you, so that, because I think a lot of time no is about not understanding or time press, or many times it's budget. And budget you can't really do anything about. But I remember I had a great controller that I used to work with, and he'd say, Bianca, you are the only person I have ever met within the organization or the company that does creative controlling. I got creative because I found ways to make the small budgets that I did have work, because I got other people to contribute. I got many different departments to go in with me and be like, let's test this idea out.
Within what we have.
And we make the best we can out of it.
And then when there's frustrations, how do you deal with frustrations?
Oh, girl, in many different ways.
Just tell us.
I work out. I am an avid, this is like me.
This is
This is me going to my favorite workout. This is not a sponsored, but it could be because I am such a berries fan. I love berries. If anybody who knows me
Knows that you're a berries girl.
it's
So
my
your
religion.
therapy.
It's therapy. And the people that work there are like an extended family. They're just such beautiful people, like all the trainers. Berry Stockholm, shout out. But no, it's therapeutic. And it's because I turn off my mind.
Yeah.
It's when the silence, I can just be, and I have someone telling me what to do.
What you had to do.
What to do. And that's where my frustration has space to just let go, right? And then meditating. I mean, my dad taught me at such a young age to meditate and mantras. And I never really understood how groundbreaking or how deep that actually connects with you until I was an adult. And breathing.
Breathing is just such a powerful tool.
Breath work is such a beautiful tool that you can use in the shower, you can use on the train, you can use it anywhere. In a meeting, and counting your breath. And that's how I deal with frustration. And I also deal with frustration by having beautiful people around me that listen to me and that advise me from their point of view and open up my mind to think like, maybe think about this or think about it that way. And when you're able to like ventilate in a safe space, you see things from a different perspective and you're able to let it go.
100%. And then, like, we were talking before we started the podcast, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, the type of personality that you are, and then we can see it that you're very passionate, right? So you're a very passionate woman, very passionate leader. And sometimes I am like you in that sense, like I'm very passionate about everything that I do and I put all my heart into in there. You know, I work relentlessly hour when I believe in things that I think that can change perception, that can make impact and bring results. But sometimes we forget about ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's something that you learn every single day as you're getting older because our body does not function as it used to be when you're 20s. But sometimes it's hard to understand that because we're passionate about what we do. So how have you been learning and evolving on that sense that you're putting yourself first?
That has been a long journey because I think that's why when I started, the podcast with you, the question was, who are you today? And I said, I'm not the same person I was last year. I'm definitely not, because this year has taught me so much about myself and how health is such an important puzzle piece to life. Health, like you're mentioning, is something maybe you take for granted because your body is able to adapt. And I don't get colds very often. During COVID, I have no idea how. I just did not get COVID, even though I was around people with COVID.
You.
Blessed, I guess, my many, genes that I have from all the cultural backgrounds I have, maybe was that. But it's interesting when your body just is screaming at you and telling you to stop, and you're just ignoring all the signals, and you're ignoring it so much that, your physical body is changing and you're seeing it happen in real time and you don't know what's going on and you're not listening. And it's when it makes you stop, it's when you start to actually be like, okay, what am I doing? I think I need to regroup and I need to think what's important to me. Like you're mentioning, I love what I do. I love it so much. And stress is stress. Like my mother usually says, your body doesn't know the difference between positive stress or negative stress.
No,
it just knows it's stress.
Yeah.
And your cortisol just keeps rising. And then adding berries into the mix, even though it's something that I love,
but it's stressful.
So I had to adapt that as well. And it's a learning curve because, my daughter is so important to me. But again, I felt like I have to put food on the table. I have to be able to support her. I want to give her the same, standard life that she should have. I need to work more. And, you have this drive within you. Mm-hmm. But if you think about it, all she really does want, I was reflecting with this with my sisters and my mom. She just wants to be with you. She just wants to sit with you and spend time with you when you're not on your phone working. And it's so true. It's so true because those small things that you don't think of, you're like, I'm just going to send this email. I'm just going to reply to this Teams. I'm just going to,
tell me. Yes.
And you get so easily distracted because your mind is everywhere else but here. So that is something I have taken to heart so much after this summer where I just reflected so much. And I stopped pushing forward in a way that was detrimental to my health. You can push forward in so many different
You
ways.
can.
It's when you surrender to your, your inner voice and your inner compass that guides you, that you're able to heal and you're able to rebuild and find, a new resilience and inner strength that forgot that you had maybe.
And if you have to give like a piece of advice for, for people, that how do you actually listen to your inner soul and to ensuring that you're having that balance of what is important and what is love, but is not as important as yourself?
Having beautiful people around you that have the audacity, I should say,
To tell you.
to tell you and to get into that uncomfortable conversation with you because they love you and they see you.
Uncomfortable conversation is so hard.
It is, but that's what family's for.
Yes.
And I'm so grateful to my family because
Yeah.
they love me so much and I love them, so that when they talk to me and they say it to me from a loving place because they care, I have to take it to heart, And they've said it for such a long time that, your body, your health, you have to think about it, because I never get sick. I literally never get sick. And the fact that you just take it for granted, you're like, what will it be if I do get sick?
And something that we learned as we evolve and mature in that sense is that it doesn't mean that you're putting yourself first, that you're not going to continue to be successful into what we do.
That's not it.
Yeah, that's not it. But sometimes when we are younger or we don't have that understanding yet, you think that if you take care of yourself first, then you're not going to be able to succeed professionally because you're putting yourself first. But then when we learned that is actually the opposite.
Yeah, that is so true. It took me a long time to get here. And I'm proud that I have realized that, putting time and effort into myself and my private life, my work is part of me.
Exactly.
It's not you. It's not me.
It's not you.
It's part of me. And it's a proud part of me, but it's not all of me, right?
Yeah.
And first and foremost, I'm a mom. And I really need to nurture those few years that she's still small, tiny. Okay,
Yeah.
she's 11, but she's still tiny for me.
It's just time. Antonio's
still
11.
tiny.
Antonio's
Exactly.
my baby. I call him my baby.
My
It's like,
baby,
Mom,
yeah.
you're not a baby. It's like, you're
You're
my
my
baby
baby.
forever.
Exactly. I want to just, bathe in the feeling of love that you have for your child without the stress of having to answer an email, answer a Teams, or answer a text. You know what I mean? And I've let that blur the lines for so long.
Doing that with more of a balance, right? So I
Yes,
think it's just
that's
like having
right.
finding the balance. I think that is the challenge that we face nowadays. And then again, looking after yourself first, that doesn't mean that you're not going to succeed professionally. It's just finding a balance. And I think that message that you just said now, and it's such an important message for young generations or for other women with our age that is feeling the same right now, because again, those type of conversation and awareness, you don't always listen people talking about it. It's just, it feels like it's still a taboo of like where we needed to keep going until we break. But when we have people like you that is taking that opportunity and talk this openly and very vulnerable, is just such a beautiful message.
Thanks.
So thank you for saying that, and then
Yeah.
for sharing that beautiful story and journey. And if you have to tell a message to Bianca, 12 years old, moving from US to Sweden, what you would have said to her?
Don't resent your mom for putting you in a Swedish class when you had no clue what they were saying. She did you a favor.
She did you a favor.
She did you a favor.
Indeed.
Because back then it was like, why am I in a Swedish class? I have no clue what they're saying. But it helped me so much. And that's where I feel that those uncomfortable moments that your family put you through, where you're like, why? It's a blessing in disguise.
Definitely a blessing.
And-
oh my
and
God. I think then all the time. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what I'm so grateful for today, to tell my 12-year-old self, be you, be who you are, be that colorful, different, outgoing little girl that you are, because it'll take you far, because you are unique. And I think everybody forgets at times in moments in life that we're all unique.
You're always.
And you should not change who you are to fit into a mold or fit into a room. Let that room open up for you.
Beautiful. I love that. future of media, if you can say, like, because the industry of marketing, media, social media, AI,
Ah,
and all of that is changing so rapidly that
yeah.
sometimes we as a human and we as working for brands, we have to be flexible and changing and thinking and creating and innovating constantly because everything is changing so rapidly. So if you look at the future ahead of us, and I love to say that back in the days,
Yeah.
20 years ago, I would say, oh, what is your career plan for the next 5 years? Where do you think the marketing will be in 5 years? Today, you can only think 6 months maximum.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
it's just
true.
because all of the change. So if you looking ahead for the marketing industry, for as like for the industry of like that we've been working on, where do you see that the wording is kind of like evolving, in which direction, especially with AI now here,
Yeah.
and it's not going to go anyway, hopefully, because metaverse, now you're talking about metaverse.
I know,
like, metaverse is
metaverse
done.
came in
Do you
came
think
in
AI
last.
is going to go too? Now I'm confused
No,
because
I
I
don't.
forgot.
I don't think machine learning, in general tense. I mean, if you think about AI, I think it's dystopian to think it'll be like the Matrix. I don't want to
Yes.
think that way. I want to think it's going to be for good in a sense where you look at the medical industry and you look at science and you want to try to find cures and you want to try to make the world a better place. And when it comes to media, I had this discussion yesterday. I was having a beautiful conversation with different people from different sectors, talking about different questions such as AI. How can you tell the difference? How can you see if this text is actually real storytelling or if it's AI? And I think if you look at trends, and I said this yesterday, and I say if you look at trends, a lot of Gen Alpha today are super curious about what life was before, what they're
Exactly.
used to, what it looked like, nostalgia. And I was just in Amsterdam 2 weeks ago celebrating my daughter's birthday, and we went to the Barbie experience. That was so cool because they had a room that was literally my high school years. It was insane to step into that room. I had I had that phone. I had the CD walkie talkie. Like, it was insane to just walk in there and see the first Mac. The first Apple
Wow, I need
computer.
to
It
go
was
there.
so cool. The one with the colors.
Yeah.
And she was like fascinated with it. And she's like, a regular phone, a computer. She's like, what is like, oh, what is this cellular phone? And I'm like, yeah, I had that
This
version,
is,
that Nokia.
yes.
No, but I think kids today, there's going to be a balance. I think even though technology is ever evolving and the way we can be more effective, the way we can buy media, the way we create media, you'll never forget the human interaction in it,
I
right?
love that, which I truly believe too.
And I advocate that so much.
Me
Meaning
too.
you create spaces where people can connect. If it's digitally, yeah, we all had that during the pandemic and it worked. But nothing beats sitting across from a person
Nothing
that you
beats,
like, love, or
no.
interested in, or want to get to know, or curious about, or even a person maybe you don't like, but you learn something from it because it mirrors something within you.
Yes.
So I think the human connection, even though we're moving towards more technology-driven industries, I think it'll always be there. And the same curiosity, the way kids are showing today about the dumb phone trend where they're not on apps and they want to go back to, just being analog, I think it'll come back more and more than we think, because there's a beauty in
truly
it to be
believe that.
disconnected and to be present with someone.
Antonio, my son, which is the Gen Alpha, is the same age of your daughter. He said to me, I'm so glad that we're taking over the Gen Zs, because we will tell them the importance of the balance of human connection and technology. And then he's 11 years old, but he can already foresee for himself.
Yeah.
And then I asked him the other day, but how are you going to balance that? He said, with sport.
Yeah.
And I thought it was so beautiful for 11. I was like, how are you going to balance that? He said, I will balance with my sport. I will continue to play cricket and football. And I wanted to be connected with my mates through sports and show them that connection through sports, it's something that we needed to embrace and, share it together. And I thought it was just so beautiful
Yeah.
for his age. And I truly believe what you said, that technology, it's here to excite us, but technology is not going to excite us without human connection
Exactly.
and human creativity.
And Antonio's right. You have to have balance. And that's what we were talking
Yeah.
about before. You need balance. You
need
need balance in everything. If you don't have balance, that's when, things start going sour. And, it becomes negative, a negative force in your body instead of something that's positive. So I truly believe that your son is on the right path because balance is key.
Balance is key. Bianca, what a pleasure to have you here and have that incredible wise conversation. And knowing more about you, about the story, is even more inspiring than what I already knew it. So thank you so much for being so vulnerable to share your story and share your wisdom. That is just incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. And I hope, this brings reflections to people that are in the peak of their career where you're just running so much that you take a pause and you think about, what brings you joy and what makes you happy.
Yeah, because life is too short.
Exactly. Way too short.
Thank you, everyone that has been, listening to this episode. And again, what an incredible conversation with Bianca Franklin. So if you're not following us yet, make sure we do on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Podcast, and Apple Podcasts. And now we have our own Instagram account. Please follow us to that, because then you can get all the news, all the bites, all the teaser, and all the information about Beyond Marketing Podcast. So Bianca, thank you so much.
Thank you.
What a pleasure. Thank you, everyone, again.